I have followed nearly every recipe in this book to the letter. Triple checking, quadruple duple checking, that's not a word, every single recipe to make sure it comes out perfect. Today, I'm gonna wing it. Welcome back to Bourdain.
Everybody should know how to use a knife. Use everything, waste nothing. Let's start at the beginning. It ain't that hard, okay?
My name's Mitch May, I hope you're doing well. If not, we can fucking cook. We are doing every recipe in Anthony Bourdain's Aioli Cookbook. Today, it looks like Bourride, it's more like Bourride. I give up. This is a pretty traditional French stew, thickened up with a little aioli at the end. It should be amazing. However, I noticed there is a bit of a typo, or I just can't comprehend what we have to do here, because Bourdain calls for us to take fish bones, simmer them for a while, and then kind of just run them through a food mill. And then that substance is going to be part of our stew.
Okay, pause right freaking there. You may have noticed the footage itself is a little glitchy, a little laggy. That is not in your head. That is not your connection. For whatever reason, my phone just up sometimes. I don't know why, but it films in a weird, funky, laggy format. I've been trying to fix it. I've been trying to work on it. Let me show you again. Here it is.
A bit of a typo, or I just can't comprehend what we have to do here, because Bourdain calls for us to take...
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. So instead of proceeding with a laggy video, I'm going to just do a simple voiceover. To begin with, I am going to omit this whole fishbone ordeal. And as usual, I have Anthony Bourdain's cookbook linked down below in the description of the video. Let's get moving on this unprecedented voiceover. Like I said, we're going to improv here, actually doing a little variation off of Eric Repair's recipe and combining it with Bourdain's. In an effort to jump cut the whole fishbone matter, I start with a cup of chicken stock. Ideally, this would be fish stock. Next, some dry white wine from the House of Sutter, just to add a little acid, followed by a cup of filtered water and a bouquet garni, which is parsley, bayleaf, and thyme. I wrap it up in some leek leaves. Next, I figure we kick this up with fish sauce, adding some salt and a little umami. I know everyone uses that word. Next, I add 4 crushed vampire killers and let this simmer down for about 10 to 15 minutes. Nothing crazy, I just want all the flavors to combine. Now we get to make some aioli, which is just mayonnaise. I always hear it on Chopped and Food Network, and it was intimidating until I found out exactly what it is. We're going to whisk 2 large egg yolks and 1 minced clove of garlic until nicely combined. Cool trick AB has us do is take a damp towel, make a sort of donut, and place our bowl into this donut, and it will not move around as we move to add our oil while constantly whisking. This is 3/4 cups of light olive oil, initially starting little by little, probably a tablespoon or 2, and once we have a nice emulsion, we can proceed with adding all of the oil, which I got overzealous, if that's the proper word. I added too much. I just added too much at the same time. I tried adding some store-bought mayonnaise, the thought being an already successfully emulsified mixture would help out my mitched up mixture, but to no avail. I still seasoned properly with 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, pinch of salt, some white pepper, but it is broken. No amount of whisking can remedy this. I mean, that just looks terrible. There's no getting around it. That looks not very appetizing. I then had a thought based off of my mayonnaise theory that we could start from scratch, treating the broken mixture as if it was the oil, taking a simple room temperature large egg yolk, whisking that up, and slowly adding our broken mixture to this egg yolk, much in the fashion we would have added the oil, little by little until nicely emulsified, then getting a little more generous as we have a nice cohesive mixture. We saved this sauce that I almost got really mad about. Next, we get chopping some vegetables for the stew. This is where I take a note from Repair's cookbook, getting 2 Yukon Gold peeled potatoes and slicing them into wedges. Next, 1 head or root, I don't know what you call this, the thing of fennel, we cut down the middle, and I try to get similar wedge-like shapes as our potatoes, making sure to get out that root end, which is edible, but definitely harder to get through and requires a little more cooking than the rest of the vegetable. I wasn't sure how to slice these so they maintain their integrity in the pot while cooking. We did as good as we could here. Next, another ingredient that is quite common in these recipes, leeks. 2 of the white parts, we're going to slice these lengthwise and then crosswise, getting about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in width. The idea we're trying to achieve here, as with many things you're trying to cook uniformly, is to have them all in the same size. So I decided to slice these wedges into similar sizes as the fennel and leeks. Our makeshift fish broth is to my liking. It has a pretty nice flavor, not super overpowering, but it's got a nice salty seafood quality quality that I think the fish sauce was a big factor in. After a quick strain, back on the heat with a little water added because we are going to simmer our vegetables and fish in this broth. Once we're at a simmer and your pot looks like a cauldron, apparently, we add all of our vegetables in, the idea being to cook them halfway, uncovered, so about 7 to 8 minutes. While we're hanging out, I drink some wine, not enjoying it, but forgetting immediately and not enjoying it once more. Coming back to our vegetables in some time, you can see they've changed. They have a look of being almost done, but not fully there, because the idea being we're going to cook these and finish them with our fish. 2 nice room temperature monkfish fillets, about 6 to 8 ounces each, seasoning pretty generously with some salt and white pepper, making sure to get every side we can. These now go into the pot with the vegetables, which I realized we had too many vegetables and or too little broth, so I had to take out some vegetables and make room for our fishy friends. Now the unique part for me, these are going to poach. I've never done this before, taking about 4 to 5 minutes on a low simmer, covering these and letting them do their thing. After that time, they've firmed up nicely. Now I'm not too happy with the temperature we have. It should be around 150 degrees. We've definitely exceeded that, but with a flip, I actually turn the heat off and let these hang out for another 3 to 4 minutes. To test the doneness of this fish, a unique trick I learned from Eric Repair taking a skewer. This is a cake tester, but I figure it's a similar vibe. Inserting it into the thickest part of the fish, after 4 to 5 seconds, it should be warm to the touch. Unfortunately, I didn't feel much warmth, so I gave these another 2 to 3 minutes, and upon testing this time, they were finished. We reserve the monkfish and give the vegetables a test, and fortunately, they have cooked perfectly along with our fish. I don't think they're overdone, and they've still maintained their integrity. Next up, we're going to strain this mixture once again, getting all the vegetables out of the broth, putting this back in our pot and hitting it with a splash of heavy cream, bringing me back to the elementary school days. I never could manage that damn freaking foldy tab. Anyway, we add a 1/4 cup of our aioli and whisk this all in the pot. Bringing this back on our burner over medium heat until it's at a simmer. I follow Repair's directions here to allow this to cook down and thicken up. Unfortunately, I didn't get any thickening, so I added even more of our aioli, eventually all of it, in hopes to get a nice thick mixture. It didn't get exactly where I wanted it to, but I just rolled with what we had. Plating this up, I shoot for a refined presentation because it just looks good on YouTube thumbnails, slicing this monkfish into coins, which I've never worked with before. I found the texture really nice, and it definitely was not overcooked. Off camera, these coins were hanging out in our aioli mixture. I then moved to plate them in a fan-like pattern on our fancy black dish, followed by our vegetables. The leeks, unfortunately, didn't really maintain their structure, followed by our lovely sauce, which, if you have a chef's eye, is a little broken, adding some reserved fennel fronds, which really add a nice contrast and aesthetic here. Given the hurdles we faced, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. The texture of the monkfish was amazing, almost a cross between a cod and a scallop. Very, very interesting. The sauce we made has a lovely seafood, almost chowder-like flavor that is definitely a little tangy from the aioli we added. And yes, we have some breakage here, but the flavor is rather nice. I think we could have benefited from Bourdain's instructions to add the aioli off heat, but if you have any tips, fire away with any tricks for fixing maybe broken sauces. And I think for a first try with a touch and go from both recipes, this turned out okay, minus the mess, of course. Thank you for spending your time with me. I have a video here to your right if you're interested. This was Back to Bourdain.
Stay organized and clean up after yourself. You do the best you can.
Oh yes, and Merry Christmas, Santa.